He has always been the strong one. For 40 years, Jim Bob has been the rock, the leader, the one who had the answers when the world was falling apart. I never imagined I would see him helpless. It happened at 2017 in the morning. The house was quiet. The girls were asleep. I heard a noise from his office. Not a footstep. A fall. A heavy, dead weight hitting the floorboards. I ran down the hallway. I called his name. Jim Bob. He didn't answer. I opened the door and my heart stopped. He was on the ground. His face was gray. He wasn't moving. I touched his chest and there was nothing. Please, if you are listening to this, pray. Because for the first time in my life, I don't know if he's going to wake up. My name is Michelle, and this is the night our world went dark. You have to understand, he hasn't been sleeping. For the last 6 months, Jim Bob has been carrying a mountain on his shoulders. The lawsuits, the headlines, the children leaving one by one. He stopped eating. He stopped smiling. He would sit in his office until 3:00 a.m., staring at legal documents, highlighting lines in yellow ink. I would bring him tea. I would touch his shoulder. It felt like rock, hard, tense. Jim Bob, I would whisper, "Come to bed. You need rest." He would look at me with red eyes. "I can't rest, Michelle. If I rest, it all falls apart." I saw the gray in his face. I saw the way his hand shook when he held his coffee cup. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know his heart was literally breaking. Last night, a cold, steady rain. I woke up at 2:00 a.m. The bed beside me was empty. The sheets were cold. Usually, I would just roll over. I would pray for him and go back to sleep. But tonight felt different. There was a heaviness in the air, a pressure. I put on my robe. I walked down the hallway. The house is so big at night. It feels like a cavern. I saw the light coming from under the office door. A thin, yellow strip. I heard a sound, not typing, not talking, a gasp, like someone trying to breathe underwater. Gasp, gasp. My stomach dropped. I ran. I pushed the door open. He wasn't at his desk. He was on the floor, lying on his side, clutching his chest, his face. Oh, God, his face. It was the color of ash. Sweat was pouring down his forehead. His eyes were wide open, looking at me, full of terror. "Jim! Bob!" I screamed. I fell to my knees beside him. He tried to speak. His lips moved, but no sound came out, just a gurgle. His hand grabbed my wrist. His grip was weak, so weak. "Help me," his eyes said, and then his eyes rolled back. His hand went limp. He was gone, right there in my arms. I scrambled for the phone. My fingers were slippery. I dropped it twice. "Dial! Dylan, what is your emergency? My husband. He's not breathing. He collapsed." I was screaming. I didn't care who heard me. Suddenly, the door flew open. It was Jana. She was wearing her pajamas. Her hair was messy. She saw her father on the floor. She didn't scream. She froze for 1 second, and then she moved. "Mom, move," she said. She started CPR. Push, push. I counted with her. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was praying out loud. "Jesus, save him. Jesus, don't take him yet. He's not ready. We're not ready." The paramedics arrived in 6 minutes. It felt like 6 years. They swarmed the room, men in uniforms, shouting codes, putting tubes in his mouth. "No pulse," one of them yelled. "Charge him!" Zap! His body jumped off the floor. I covered my mouth to stop the scream. They loaded him onto the stretcher. They ran down the hallway where my children learned to walk. I climbed into the back of the ambulance. The doors slammed shut. Bam! The siren wailed. I held his hand. It was cold. I looked at the monitor. Just a flat green line. "Come back," I whispered. "Please, Jim Bob, come back." We sped into the night, leaving the big house behind in the darkness. The ambulance screeched to a halt. The back doors flew open. Rain and bright lights hit my face. They ran with the stretcher. The wheels clattered on the wet pavement. "Clear the way, Trauma One!" I tried to run with them. I was holding onto the rail of the bed, but at the double doors, a nurse stopped me. "Mom, you can't go in there. You have to wait here." I watched the doors swing shut. Whoosh! I saw his feet disappear. I stood there in the hallway, dripping wet, wearing my nightgown and a coat I grabbed in the dark. I have never felt so small. My husband was on the other side of that wall, fighting death. And I was standing next to a vending machine, shivering. The waiting room was freezing. Why are hospitals always so cold? I sat in a hard plastic chair. I wrapped my arms around myself. I looked at the clock on the wall. 3:14 a.m. Every second felt like an hour. I had to make the calls. The phone tree. We have a system for emergencies, but we never thought we'd use it for him. I called John David first. "He's the steady one." "John," I whispered, "it's Dad. Get everyone up." "Get to the hospital." I heard him gasp. I heard the drop. Then I called Jill. I hadn't spoken to her in months. "Jill, please come." She didn't ask questions. She just said, "I'm on my way." "Mom," one by one they started arriving. First John and Abby, then Joseph, then Jesser and Ben. They burst through the doors, their faces pale, hair messy from sleep. They ran to me. "Mom, is he okay? What happened?" I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. We took over the waiting room, 20 of us. We formed a circle. We held hands. People were staring at us. The nurses were whispering, but we didn't care. We prayed loud. We prayed hard. "God, spare him. God, give him more time." I looked at my children's faces. They looked terrified. They had never seen their father weak. They thought he was invincible. Tonight, we all learned he wasn't. While we prayed, my mind drifted. I thought about the first time I saw him, the frozen yogurt shop. He was so young, so eager. I thought about our wedding day, the way he looked at me. I thought about the babies, all 19 of them. He was there for every birth. He held my hand every time. "Don't leave me, Jim Bob." I whispered to the air, "I can't do this without you. I don't know how to be Michelle without Jim Bob. We are one flesh. If he dies, half of me dies too." The thought was so sharp it physically hurt my chest. The door opened. The room went dead silent. A doctor in blue scrubs walked out. He looked tired. He pulled his mask down. He scanned the room until he found me. Mrs. Duggar. I stood up. My knees were shaking so hard John had to hold me up. The walk to him took a lifetime. He looked at his clipboard. He looked at me. "He's alive," he said. A collective breath released in the room. Some of the girls started sobbing. But the doctor continued. It was a massive heart attack. The widowmaker. We had to revive him twice. My world spun. Twice. He died twice. He is in critical condition. The next 24 hours will decide everything. He's alive. But he's not safe. The battle has just begun. They only let one person in at a time. I walked into the ICU room. It was so quiet, except for the machines. Beep, the beep, hiss. There he was, my strong, loud, vibrant husband. He looked so small in that bed. There were tubes everywhere. Down his throat, in his arms. His chest was rising and falling, but it wasn't him doing it. It was the machine. I touched his hand. It was swollen. I brushed the hair off his forehead. It was cold and damp. "I'm here, Jim Bob," I whispered. "I'm right here." I didn't know if he could hear me. The doctor said he was sedated. But I talked anyway. I told him about the kids in the waiting room. I told him it was raining. I told him I loved him more than life itself. "You have to fight," I said. You promised me we would grow old together. This isn't old enough." About an hour later, the door opened. I turned around. It was Jill. She was standing in the doorway, her hair wet from the rain, her eyes red. We hadn't spoken properly in a long time. There was so much hurt, so much silence. But in that room, none of it mattered. She looked at her father. Her hand flew to her mouth. She started to cry. A deep, painful sob. I stood up. I opened my arms. She ran to me. We hugged, really hugged, for the first time in years. "Daddy," she whimpered. We stood over his bed, holding hands, mother and daughter, united by the one man we both loved, even when it was complicated. The anger melted away. Only the grief remained. Vinayhydradon, 400 a.m., 500 a.m. The hospital was a ghost town. The boys were sleeping in the waiting room chairs, twisted in uncomfortable positions. The girls were huddled on the floor with blankets the nurses gave us. I stayed in the chair next to his bed. I watched the monitor. That green line was the only thing keeping me sane. Every time it dipped, my heart stopped. Every time an alarm beeped, I jumped. I prayed through the Psalms. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we were in the valley. It was dark. It was cold. And I was terrified that when the sun came up, I would be a widow. In the silence, you start to think. You think about the arguments. You think about the stress. I looked at his face and I wondered, did we push too hard? Did we take on too much? The TV show, the campaigns, the constant scrutiny. I saw the new gray hairs on his temples. I saw the lines of worry etched into his forehead. "I'm sorry," I whispered to him. "I'm sorry we didn't stop sooner. I'm sorry we let the world into our home." I realized then that none of it mattered. The fame, the money, the reputation, all that mattered was his hand in mine. If he wakes up, things have to change. We can't go back to how it was. The cost is too high. The sun started to peek through the blinds. A gray, rainy dawn. I was dozing off in the chair, my head on the mattress, my hand holding his. Suddenly, I felt it, a twitch, just a tiny movement in his finger. I shot up, Jim Bob. I squeezed his hand. Squeeze back if you can hear me. I held my breath. 1 second, 2 seconds. Then a weak, faint pressure. He squeezed back. I gasped. Tears sprang to my eyes instantly. He's in there, I yelled, forgetting to be quiet. He's in there! The nurse ran in. For the first time in 6 hours, the monitor changed rhythm. His heart rate went up. He was fighting. He was coming back to us. It took 3 hours for him to fully wake up. The doctors removed the tube. It was painful to watch. He coughed. He gasped. I held a cup of ice chips to his lips. Slowly, I said, "Just breathe." He looked around the room. He saw me. He saw the boys standing by the window. He tried to speak. His voice was like gravel. Broken. "Michelle?" I leaned in close. "I'm here, Jim Bob." Did I die? I choked back a sob. "Almost, sweetie." "You almost left us." He closed his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek. "I wasn't ready," he whispered. "I have so much left to fix." Once he was stable, the nurse let the children come in. Not all at once. That would be a riot, but in groups. The little ones were scared. They stood by the door, holding hands. Jim Bob smiled at them. It was a weak smile, but it was his smile. "Hi, guys," he wheezed. Jordan ran over and buried her face in the bed sheet. "Don't do that again, Daddy!" she cried. He put his hand on her head. His hand was shaking, but he kept it there. "I promise," he said. "I'm not going anywhere yet." Seeing him there, surrounded by the family we built, I realized that this is the only legacy that matters. Not the show, not the politics, just them. But the doctor didn't let us celebrate for long. He pulled us into the hallway. "Mr. Duggar is lucky," he said. "But this was a warning shot, a loud one." He told us about the stress, the blood pressure, the exhaustion. If he goes back to his old life, the next one will kill him. I looked at Jim Bob through the glass. I thought about the lawsuits, the campaigns, the endless filming schedules, the properties, the empire. It nearly cost me my husband. I made a decision right then and there. We are done. No more running. No more fighting the world. We have to choose the empire or the father, and I choose the father. 5 days later, we brought him home. They wheeled him out to the car. He walked the last few steps himself, leaning heavily on John. David, the drive home was quiet, but it was a good quiet. When we pulled up to the big house, it looked different. It didn't look like a fortress anymore. It just looked like a home. He sat in his recliner, the one he's sat in for 20 years. He looked out the window at the kids playing in the yard. He took a deep breath. "It's good to be here." "Michelle," he said, "it's good to have you here." I replied. We sat there for an hour, just holding hands. No TV, no phones, just us. To everyone listening, thank you. Thank you for the prayers. We felt them, truly. But I want to leave you with this. Don't wait. Wait for the ambulance. Don't wait for the collapse. Hug your husband. Hug your wife. Forgive your children. Life is a vapor. It appears for a little time and then vanishes away. We were given a second chance. Not everyone gets that. We are going to use it to love each other better, to slow down, to live quietly. Jim Bob is still here, and for that I will praise God every single day. This is Michelle Duggar signing off. Good night, and God bless you all.